I never thought I'd be in this situation. I mean, when you move into a new neighborhood, you expect a few surprises. Maybe a nosy neighbor, maybe some odd local traditions. But nothing could have prepared me for what my neighbor asked me to do with their donkey, on camera. It all started when I moved into this quiet little town, looking for some peace and a fresh start. My next door neighbor, Mr. Henson, was one of the first people to welcome me. He was an older guy, probably in his 60s, with a weathered face and a thick country accent. The kind of man who had lived here his whole life and knew everything about everyone. He always had a story to tell, and most of them revolved around his farm animals, especially his prized donkey, Jasper. Now, Jasper wasn't your average donkey. According to Mr. Henson, he was special. Smartest animal I ever owned, he'd say with a proud grin. Knows tricks, understands commands, and even has a personality of his own. At first, I didn't think much of it. People get attached to their pets, and I figured this was just a case of an old man loving his animal. But then, one evening, he showed up at my door with an offer I couldn't quite wrap my head around. "You got a good sense of humor, don't you?" he asked, leaning against my porch railing. I nodded, unsure where this was going. "Well, I got this little, project I'm working on," he continued, scratching the back of his neck. "And I need an extra pair of hands. Thought you might be interested." That should have been my first red flag, but curiosity got the better of me, and before I knew it, I was following him across his property, past the old barn, and straight to the pen where Jasper stood, staring at us like he already knew what was coming. "I'm telling you, this is gonna be great," Mr. Henson said, pulling out an old video camera from a bag. "People are gonna love this." At this point, I had no idea what I'd just signed up for. But as he started explaining, a mix of amusement and sheer disbelief washed over me. He wasn't joking. He actually expected me to go through with it. And the worst part? He hit the record button before I could even say no. And that's how I found myself standing in the middle of a farm, a camera rolling and a donkey staring at me, waiting for whatever came next. I stood there, frozen, as the red light on the camera blinked, signaling that it was recording. Jasper, the donkey, flicked his tail and let out a snort, completely unfazed. Meanwhile, my mind raced. What exactly had I agreed to? Mr. Henson grinned like he had just pulled off the best prank in history. "All right, son, let's get started. Jasper's ready, and we ain't got all night." His enthusiasm only made me more nervous. Uh, Started with what?" I finally asked, my voice coming out weaker than I wanted. He waved his hand dismissively, like I was overthinking it. "Don't worry, it's simple. Just do what I showed you." Showed me? He hadn't shown me anything. All he did was walk me over here, shove a camera in my face, and act like we were about to film the next big Hollywood blockbuster starring a farm animal. I glanced at Jasper, who was now chewing on something, completely uninterested in my growing panic. "Look, Mr. Henson, Just trust me, kid. People love this kind of thing," he interrupted, adjusting the camera angle. "Jasper's been doing it for years, and I need a second person to help this time." Years? That word stuck with me. How long had he been filming whatever this was? And who else had been a part of it before me? The thought made me even more uneasy. I took a deep breath and looked around. The barn cast long shadows under the dim yard light, and the only sounds were the occasional rustling of leaves and Jasper's lazy chewing. No one else was around. Just me, this old man, and his strangely talented donkey. "All right," I said slowly, still not entirely sure what I was getting into. "But if this is some kind of joke..." "Joke? Son, this is serious work." Mr. Henson laughed, patting the side of the camera. "Now, let's get to it before Jasper gets bored." I watched as he reached into a nearby bucket and pulled out something. I squinted, trying to make sense of what I was looking at. It wasn't anything weird, but it still didn't explain why I was here. Then, before I could even ask, he tossed it straight at me. I barely caught it, stumbling back as Jasper's ears perked up, suddenly way more interested than before. And that's when it hit me. Whatever this was, I was already in too deep. The thing in my hands was heavier than I expected, wrapped in an old cloth with bits of hay stuck to it. Jasper's eyes locked onto it, and for the first time since I got here, he actually looked excited. My fingers tightened around it as I turned to Mr. Henson, who was grinning like this was the best entertainment he'd had in years. "Go on then," he urged, nodding toward Jasper. I hesitated. This still didn't make sense. Why was this so important? Why did he need me? And more importantly, why was he filming it? "Mr. Henson, you still haven't told me what we're actually doing here," I said, my voice a mix of frustration and confusion. He let out a chuckle, shaking his head. "Boy, you ask too many questions. Just follow my lead." But I wasn't so sure I wanted to. Something about the way he was acting, the way Jasper was reacting, made me feel like I had walked into something much bigger than I understood. I glanced around the farm, half expecting someone else to show up and say this was all some elaborate prank. But the night was still and quiet, just the distant chirp of crickets and the low hum of the wind through the trees. Then, out of nowhere, Jasper stomped his hoof, impatient. I jumped slightly, gripping the object tighter. Mr. Henson laughed again, clearly enjoying my unease. "You're making him wait too long," he said. "Better hurry before he decides to take matters into his own hooves." I swallowed hard, staring at the donkey, the camera still rolling, and Mr. Henson watching closely. Whatever was about to happen next, I had the sinking feeling there was no turning back. Jasper stomped again, harder this time, his ears twitching with impatience. My heart pounded as I looked down at the bundle in my hands. I still didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do, but something about the way Mr. Henson was watching me, waiting, expecting, made my skin crawl. The red light on the camera kept blinking, recording everything. I took a shaky breath. "Mr. Henson, I don't think—" Before I could finish, Jasper let out a loud, almost human-like huff and took a step forward. The movement startled me so much that I nearly dropped what I was holding. Mr. Henson chuckled, shaking his head like I was some clueless city boy who didn't belong here. "You're overthinking it," he said. "Just go with the flow." But I wasn't sure there was a flow to go with. My instincts screamed at me that something wasn't right. The way the camera was positioned, the way Mr. Henson's eyes glinted in the dim light, the way Jasper seemed to know more about what was happening than I did, it all felt off. I took a small step back, gripping the bundle tighter. "Maybe I should just watch first," I suggested, trying to buy time, trying to understand what exactly I'd gotten myself into. Mr. Henson's smile faltered just a little. His fingers drummed against the side of the camera. "Nah," he said, "it's gotta be you. That's what makes it work." I swallowed hard. "Makes what work?" Before he could answer, Jasper suddenly lunged forward, not in an aggressive way, but with purpose. My breath caught in my throat as I stumbled back, realizing too late that I was right in the middle of whatever was about to happen. Jasper moved fast, faster than I ever thought a donkey could. 1 second, I was holding that mysterious bundle, trying to make sense of everything, and the next, Jasper was right up in my space, his snout inches from my hands. I stumbled back, nearly dropping whatever it was I was holding, but Mr. Henson took a quick step forward, his hand shooting out to steady me. "Careful now," he muttered, but there was something in his tone that made my stomach twist. It wasn't concern, it was something else. Anticipation, like he knew something I didn't. Jasper let out another huff, his big dark eyes locked onto mine. He wasn't just looking at me, he was waiting, expecting. I didn't know why, but that realization sent a chill down my spine. I turned to Mr. Henson, my voice uneasy. "Tell me what's going on, now." He just chuckled again, shaking his head. "Boy, you don't even realize what you're part of, do you?" He gestured toward the camera. "This ain't just some backyard fun. This is bigger than you think." The way he said it made my pulse spike. Bigger than I thought? What did that even mean? My hands tightened around the cloth-wrapped object, and I could feel something firm inside, something with weight. I had assumed it was just some kind of prop, but now I wasn't so sure. I hesitated, then slowly started unwrapping it. Mr. Henson didn't stop me. He just stood there, that same knowing grin on his face. The second I pulled the last piece of cloth away, I felt the air shift. Inside was an old carved wooden figurine, worn, faded, and strangely intricate. It looked like a donkey, but its eyes were painted an eerie shade of red. I had no idea what it meant, but the second I revealed it, Jasper let out a noise, a deep, guttural sound that didn't seem natural. His whole body tensed, his ears flattening against his head. I jerked my head up at Mr. Henson. "What is this?" His grin widened. "Now you see?" Before I could react, Jasper reared back slightly, his hooves scraping against the dirt. The camera was still rolling, the red light blinking, capturing every second of this bizarre moment. My mind raced with questions, but there was no time to ask. Because in that instant, something changed. The air around us seemed thicker, the night quieter. And Jasper, he wasn't just a regular donkey anymore. Something else was happening, something I wasn't ready for. Jasper's entire body stiffened, his eyes locked onto the wooden figurine in my hands. The air felt charged, thick with something I couldn't explain. My breath came in short, uneven gasps as I looked between him and Mr. Henson, who stood there, completely calm, like he'd seen this all before. Then, without warning, Jasper let out a deep, vibrating bray that sent a shiver down my spine. The sound wasn't normal. It carried something else with it, something I felt more than heard. The hairs on my arms stood on end. My grip on the figurine tightened as my brain screamed at me to drop it and run. "Don't fight it," Mr. Henson said, his voice eerily steady. "It's already started." "Started what?" I snapped, my pulse hammering in my ears. He nodded toward Jasper. "Watch." I turned back just in time to see the donkey's body tremble slightly, like something was passing through him. His ears flicked wildly, his breathing heavy. Then, in one swift movement, he lowered his head and nudged the figurine in my hands, his touch strangely deliberate. My fingers tingled on contact like a low current of electricity had passed between us. And then, the world shifted. Not physically, but something in the air cracked, like an invisible line had just been crossed. My mind felt suddenly light, dizzy, like I was standing on the edge of something enormous. Images flashed through my head, places I'd never seen, symbols I didn't recognize. It was overwhelming, and I stumbled back, nearly dropping the figurine. Jasper stopped moving, his big dark eyes locked onto mine, but something was different now. It wasn't just a donkey looking at me. It was something more, something knowing. I turned to Mr. Henson, my voice barely above a whisper. "What did you do?" He let out a slow breath, his grin finally fading. "Wasn't me, son. It was you." And that's when I realized I hadn't just been holding the figurine. I had activated it. Whatever power or secret had been lying dormant in Jasper, in this farm, in this strange ritual Mr. Henson had been filming for who knows how long. I had just woken it up. The camera was still rolling, capturing everything. But suddenly I wasn't sure if I wanted to know what happened next. Because whatever this was, it wasn't over yet. I stood there, my breath shallow, my hands shaking as I stared at Jasper. He wasn't moving anymore, just watching me with those deep, dark eyes that now felt far too knowing. The weight of what had just happened settled in my chest like a stone. I had no idea what I had triggered, what I had just become a part of, but one thing was clear. I couldn't undo it. Mr. Henson finally sighed, the eerie excitement in his face giving way to something more serious. "You feel it, don't you?" he said quietly. I swallowed hard. "Feel what?" "You're connected now. To him. To all of it." He gestured around the farm, though I wasn't sure what he meant by all of it. The land, the history, the strange energy I could still feel humming in my fingertips. Whatever it was, I knew he was right. Something had shifted, something I couldn't explain, and no amount of pretending would change that. Jasper let out a soft exhale, almost like a sigh, then shook his head as if shaking off whatever had just passed through him. The weight in the air lightened slightly, but the feeling inside me remained. I looked down at the figurine in my hands, now just a simple wooden carving again, no strange energy or eerie glow, just a piece of carved wood. But I knew better now. It wasn't just a figurine. "Why me?" I asked, my voice quiet. Mr. Henson chuckled, but there was no humor in it this time. "Was always going to be you. Just had to wait for the right moment." I didn't know what to say to that. The whole night had spiraled into something I never could have expected, and now I was standing in the middle of a farm, under a sky that felt heavier than before, holding a relic I didn't understand, connected to a donkey that wasn't just a donkey anymore. Mr. Henson reached over and patted my shoulder. "You'll figure it out," he said. Then he turned and started walking back toward the barn, camera in hand, as if this was just another ordinary night. Jasper let out one final, almost amused-sounding huff before trotting off, leaving me standing there alone. I wanted to believe this was over, that this was just some weird, unexplainable moment I could forget. But deep down, I knew better. Some things, once awakened, don't just go back to sleep.